Mr. Chairman, motion to open.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay. I pledge allegiance
To the
to the
flag
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we go to committee reports, why don't, I think I'm gonna jump down to, request for a banner at the backstop for the Jeannie Geiger Crisis Center. Wanna come forward? Okay,
Go to the
step up to the
microphone.
mic and introduce yourself and tell us what your request is.
I'm Mary Weatherby, and I work at the Jeannie Geiger Crisis Center, and we just want to put a banner up on the backstop over here at the Upper Green for our walk on October 6th.
Okay. Okay, she's filled out a request, it's dated September 10th.
No, October 6th, it says?
So date of request was September 10th. The date, what's the date of the what?
October 6th?
Okay, there it is, yeah, October 6th, and the removal date is October 6th, 2013.
Just one day?
No, we want to put it up starting tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay,
and leave it up to the 6th.
okay.
What do you wish to do with this request?
Yeah, I'm just curious, Mary, how big's the banner gonna be?
I think it's about 6 feet by 3 feet,
Uh,
more wide than it is long.
Okay, just with some of the other groups, we've been asking for a little more detail just about the banners, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, motion to approve.
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Staying under new business, Veteran Service District, Terry Hart, agent for Essex, Eastern Essex District, review and decision.
Good evening. I'm Terry Hart, the Director of Veteran Services for the Eastern Essex District, and I'm here just to answer any questions you may have. Our district is composed of 7 towns at the moment. We're centered in Ipswich. We have a board of directors that is, the chair is John Clemenzi, who is a former selectman from Wenham. Susan Gold-Coviello is the secretary of the group. She's from Essex. Jennifer Scuteri is the Hamilton representative. Charlie Serpitsky is the representative from Ipswich. Richard Cummings is former selectman and representative from Rowley. The representative from West Newbury is Bert Knowles, and the representative of my board from Georgetown is Phil Trapani, who was actually my the former chair, but he's been doing a lot of travel lately, so they picked a new chair for the board. The district has been that way since 2002. The district has been actually was put together in 1964 when it was 4 towns of Ipswich, Essex, Hamilton, and Wenham. In 2001, the Northern Essex District, which included Newbury, imploded. They had a part-time veterans agent who very abruptly resigned. At that time, I took all 5 towns of the Northern Essex District and assisted them. And at that time, we gave them the opportunity to say how they wanted to operate, and I provided the services almost for a full year before the decisions were made, because we were already into the fiscal year. Now, those towns included Georgetown, Rowley, and West Newbury that came with me. Newbury chose to go on its own and pick up its own part-time veterans agent at that time. And Groveland, I think, went with Haverhill at that time. and we have been those 7 since 2002.
Anybody have any questions?
Not really.
Well, what is the cost difference between us keeping, the service here in town as compared to going with?
Well, we basically have two proposals before us in which we could join this district, or we could enter into the intermunicipal agreement with the city of Newburyport,
Right.
Salisbury, Amesbury, and Merrimack. Both of them are gonna be comparable, a little over $20,000.
Now, there's only 3 of us tonight. Do we have to make a decision tonight, or should we wait till the other meeting?
Well, I think we probably should, because it's been, gosh, what, 5 weeks, 6 weeks now that we've been discussing this and waiting for a vote, and I think the intermunicipal agreement group is anxiously awaiting what Newbury's decision is gonna be. And if you should decide to go with the Essex group, we've got to go through a process for them to vote to allow us in as well, so we're kind of in a state of flux right now.
Tracy, what I'm finding difficult is that I'm not hearing any pros or cons, sort of a comparison of what we would get from the two groups. And it's, you know, it's kind of like we were going the intermunicipal agreement sort of path, and then, you know, all of a sudden this opportunity arose. And so I'm kind of trying to figure out, are we going to get essentially the same services from both, or, you know?
Well, I think from the veterans' perspective, I don't think we can go wrong. I think we find ourselves in an enviable position where, you know, going either route would serve the veterans very well. It's just a matter of how you want to move forward with the
It's almost like
governance.
just choosing who we want for our partners.
I mean, you can certainly, I don't know, Kevin or Terry could certainly speak to the benefits.
There's certainly no difference in the quality of the service. Mr. Hart's service with the district is excellent. I've been with Newbury for 6 years. There's never been a complaint here. So what you're looking at is either staying with what you have, because nothing is going to change other than that you become part of a merger, if you will, from some local towns up here. Or you can go with a district and merge with those towns down there. I personally have a bias because I feel that you're going to ask veterans to go to Ipswich. When they don't have to, they can go to Newbury. That's a 20-mile round trip that they don't have to make if you stay with Newbury. I also have been told that there may be some question about me being an employee of Newburyport, and the only answer I can give to that is I've been an employee of Newburyport for the last 6 years working with you people, and there's never been a problem, and I don't foresee one. You would have parity out of this intermunicipal agreement. You would have parity, as you would with his communities. But your parity up here would be with Salisbury, Merrimack, Amesbury, Newburyport, and yourselves.
All right, one quick question I have. If we make a decision and make a vote tonight, how hard is that vote? Can we change down the road if, say, we want to swap from one district to another district? Or is this set in stone for a certain period of time?
It is set in stone for the rules of that group that you're joining. Terry can speak to his group. Our group would let you out anytime, but usually it's on a fiscal basis, 1 year. You're not signing up for more than a year. And we're already halfway into the fiscal year, so effectively you'd be signing up for 6 months.
Chapter 115 of Mass General Law specifically indicates if you're a part of a district, you have to opt out no less than 60 days before the end of the fiscal year. And within our district, the requirement is that you opt out prior to April 1st of that fiscal year, if you don't feel you're getting the service that you so deserve. That allows, since we do it on a fiscal year basis, and you pay your entire fiscal year,
Right.
that makes a lot of sense
It
to
does.
allow that that 3-month period of time for the transition to whatever you're going to be getting. And that's straight in state law.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the only thing I'd like to add is, I know you both, you both done a terrific job where you've worked and everything else. I've enjoyed working with you. I also known you, I've known you quite some time. The only thing I'd like to add is, and I would lean towards the Ipswich group, because our legislative district lines up with Ipswich more than City of Newburyport. That's why it would have a lot to do with my decision. I'm only one person, and we align with those towns, and we all know that there are selectmen on the board of your board, and we sort of work together, and they're pretty much in our district, and plus senatorial delegation and our representative delegation, so that would be big for me.
Both of which are friends of mine.
Right.
And they're both good people. Of course, Senator Tarr's been around forever. I don't think anybody's not his friend at this point. Political game. The other concept that would make it a little bit easier too is you would actually make it easier on us. Right now, West Newbury was allowed to become a part of our district back in 2001 because Tom Kelly said, that district collapsed, they want to come with you, they go with you. And I said, fine, but they're not contiguous to any of my towns. Because I have Georgetown, I have Rowley, and then we skip up to West Newbury. And he allowed that because of the special circumstances at which the district folded. By sliding Newbury in, that would obviously, we'd all be contiguous, then there would be absolutely no problems in terms of what Chapter 115 requires, which is another requirement of Chapter 1. You know, the state law is fairly specific on that, and it is something that is, the secretary has to approve whatever is going to occur. He has to approve of the districts that are put together. And, you know, that's why this process is, when you make the decision, if the decision is to come with me, we first have to get my board to say yes, then we have to go to the secretary and get him to say yes. And that's the step process that's required at this time.
You don't need all that with me.
I guess for me, the proximity issue is kind of bubbling to the top. I mean, it sounds like we could get good services from both organizations. And the legislative district, I mean, we got so many overlapping jurisdictions as it is that we deal with that it doesn't really bother me how these align. And so I'm just thinking more, you know, again, from the veterans' point of view, if they can come here or at worst go up to Newburyport as opposed to going down to Ipswich, I see that as just, again, you know, we want to encourage our vets to take advantage of these services, right? I mean, especially as time wears on, and you know they're starting to develop a variety of problems other than just getting out of the service and so forth. And so I'm trying to look at this more from the vets.
I don't think that, if you look at it, the furthest from Ipswich for me is West Newbury. I'm in West Newbury 3 times a month easily, sometimes more. The decision is yours to make, obviously. But what I've always told my veterans is, and the widows, is if you can't come to me, I will come to you. And if you don't want me to come to your house, we'll come to a place where is mutually agreeable, which can be right here at Town Hall. Whatever is in their best interest. Obviously, both Kevin and I feel that way. We're going to take care of the veterans no matter what, no matter how we have to do it, we're going to take care of them. And the one thing that causes me to catch a lot of Kevin's work, and I get calls from people from Newburyport mostly, is because I have an 800 number. And that's what gets advertised right in the front of the phone books. So they call that 800 number and always get me, and I say, well, I'll answer your questions, but if you want the help, you got to go to Kevin, because he's right there. In fact, I got one yesterday. It was a very interesting question. They wanted to know why we have to support the VA. If you drive on Low Street, there's all kinds of signs that say support the VA. until you stop, get out of your car and look at it and realize it says support the YA, which has to do with some youth thing going on in Newburyport.
I appreciate that Mr. Hart would go and see the veterans. I've been available, and I will continue to be available 5 days a week, full-time. You know, even though it's a part-time job for Newbury, I'm available full-time, and will continue to be that. It's a 20-mile round trip to Ipswich if you have to go there, if you have to sign something. I think that's unfair for veterans. There's no public transportation. To me, it's the way to go.
All right, thank you very much. This is, I like having choices, but this one's a very, very tough choice to have, yeah. I actually had people come into my welding shop today quizzing me on this, chasing me down on this. So it's a very, very hot subject.
Well, the folks that came into your shop, what were their concerns?
I'm sorry?
The folks that came into your shop, what were their concerns?
Basically going with the Essex one. They're very, very sorry to see Kev leave, but,
Mhm.
so that's the motion I'm gonna make today, right here. I'm gonna make a
So it's sort of
motion-
the known versus the unknown
Yeah,
type thing,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion that we go with the Essex group.
Well, which one?
The Essex group,
Okay.
As opposed to the
Newburyport.
report.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also weighing the hard sell versus the soft sell here on this
No,
one.
I know, this is a tough decision.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with
it,
you. Really is.
And I personally don't feel comfortable making decisions like this on such short notice. It's the first we've really heard about anything about the Essex group, at least and I've only missed, I think, one meeting, so, but we've been talking quite a bit about what would be involved in joining forces with,
Yeah.
Newburyport, Salisbury, so I was thinking that was the route we were likely to take, and this kind of caught me a little bit by surprise, I guess, is what I'm saying, so,
That was why I quizzed on the time.
yeah.
We have time to opt out if it's etched in stone. I mean, if it's a year.
But also, I mean, we could delay the decision a meeting. It's not like we've taken this long. I mean, I completely understand why the pressures are there to try to get this settled, but I just personally feel as though I haven't had really sufficient time to mull this over, so.
Okay. I'll second your motion.
All right.
Any other discussion?
Hmm.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
So, votes.
And I'm voting against mainly just due to my
Oh, yeah.
discomfort in the,
All right, well,
decision,
sorry we
but-
disagree on that. but-
hey. As long as we agree to disagree, we're fine.
All right.
Okay. Let's go back to the original committee reports. You ready, Kathleen? Sure. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to pass on a little bit of good news. The Border to Boston Trail Committee, Christine Wilkinson and John Van Skalkwyk and I submitted a grant application to the Institution for Savings Charitable Foundation, and I found out today that we actually were awarded the grant for $5,000 to help
Oh,
our...
congratulations.
Come on.
This should be good, right? All right, hello. I'm Kathleen Pearson. I'm a member of the Newbury Planning Board, and I'm here today to present my project that I worked on for grad school, which is part of the Gordon Engineering Leadership Program. It was a one-year project that I'm going to present tonight. Now, the project itself was the impact of a public water supply on economic development. purpose of the project was to evaluate if the town had the ability to provide a public water supply to encourage economic development in the town's largest commercial industrial district along Route 1. My agenda for today is I'm taking an hour presentation and I'm trying to squeeze it down to 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to do my best to make it as short as possible. So I'm going to be cutting out a lot of the descriptive, which you can open up if you have any questions, you can ask me them. First, I'm going to start with my backgrounds. I have graduated with a bachelor's in civil engineering, where I worked in consulting for a number of years, and then I took time off to raise a family. During this time, I became involved in the local politics for the town of Newbury. In 2005, I became a member of the Newbury Planning Board. I was the chair from May 2010 to June 2013. I was elected 3 times, appointed twice to the board. I've worked on a number of subcommittees. Some of them are listed here. In 11 months, I'll graduate with my master's degree, 11 weeks, with my master's degree in civil and environmental engineering. I recently completed the Gordon Engineering Leadership Program, which was the major component of that program was this project that I'm going to present today. For this project, I had a strong team of advisors. I had my Gordon mentor. I had my faculty advisor, which was a professor in the civil engineering department at Northeastern University. Tracy Blaze was my advisor for the town. I also recruited John Weiss, who is the chair of the Newbury Planning Board. He has an extensive background in planning and development. And Brian Daly, who's an associate vice president for AECOM and who was my civil PE advisor. Now, the component for this project is the way the Gordon Engineering Leadership Program is. It's a 1-year intense engineering leadership program where you have a project where a corporation sponsors an employee to go through and complete a project in that duration. Well, my project was for the town of Newbury, but the town of Newbury didn't pay me and they didn't pay for my education. So it was pro bono, but what I got out of it was the technical experience and also able to provide some free consulting to the town. So before I go through to understand, for people that are just hearing this the first time, I thought it'd be important for them to understand, well, why do we care? What's the value of this project to me as a resident or as a town employee? So first we're gonna go through a little financial background for the town of Newbury really quick. So over the years, our expenses are outweighing our revenue. So every year, if our expenses are greater than 2.5%, then that's going to be greater than usually our revenue because the state legislation, Proposition 2.5, states that we can't raise taxes greater than 2.5%. However, they don't cap our expenses. So if our education, our debt payments, or our employee benefits increase greater than 2.5%, then we have to find the money some way to balance our budget. And usually it's by cutting our municipal services. And that's where it's become a problem, where I personally see it as we're at anorexic levels for our department budgets. So right here, what we see on this graph is the fiscal year projected revenue. And you can see that 80% of the revenue is comprised of residential property tax. Only 3% is comprised of our commercial property tax. And that's where this project comes into play. This project is looking at providing a public water supply to our business light industrial district, which is, what you're looking at right now is a zoning map, and you really only need to look at colors. The majority of the map is pale yellow. The magenta section in the center of the map where the green arrow's pointing, that's our commercial, our business light industrial district. By far, it's our largest commercial district in town. Now, the problem with this district is it has very little development. It brings in about, when you're looking at our commercial revenue, it's about 45% of our commercial property taxes. But it's obvious why we have little development. We have a lack of infrastructure, we have a lot of wetlands, we have poor soils. So next is, why is it just a water project and not a water and sewer project? For one, it had to do with timing. There's one person completing this project over a year, and it was a lot of work. So we had a meeting with a number of the town leaders, and we determined that water was deemed the most critical at the time. Another factor is if it was to include the sewer component, the only ability I would have to complete that would be to go knocking on Newbury's door to ask them to extend the sewer, which would probably get a response similar to what we got for water. And The other option would be is I'd want to be able to cost estimate a water treatment facility, wastewater treatment facility. I wouldn't have the ability to do that because DEP permits are specific effluent permits for each facility, which differs. Plus, I need to know the wastewater that I'd be treating, and I don't have that because there's nothing developed out there right now. So that's why it's a water project. So again, the goal of this project is to come up with a cost estimate for the town to provide a public water supply to the business light industrial district and determine the return of our investment. The market value of the project is we want to identify the ability to encourage economic development in this district, provide direction to the town when focusing future economic development efforts, and respond to the demands of many of the voters who want to see us increase our commercial tax base. So technical depth. I'm going to go really quick through this. I mean, I spent every day for a year doing this, so what you're going to see in like 2 minutes really doesn't cover the depth of it. But here's a flow chart showing you a flow diagram showing you the tasks that I went through. Task one is first I looked at the business light industrial district and I wanted to determine a maximum build out. From that I could determine a water demand to figure out how much water I would need to require for requesting from the public water supply or from a well. And then I was able to also to determine the potential tax revenue from maximum build out. Next is now that I know how much water I need, I wanted to go to our water sources. What was questioned, it's been questioned in the past since I've been in the planning board is okay, we have 2 public water supplies nearby. Newburyport, which actually their water distribution system goes down Hanover Street towards Route 1, and then we have the Byfield Water District that extends down Orchard Street. Then there was also 4 wells that had been tossed around and that I investigated. From that, actually back last year, Tracy Blaze, the town administrator, Joe Story, who's the chair of the Board of Selectmen, myself at the time, who was chair of the planning board, actually went to the city of Newburyport to the Water Commission. The mayor was there at the time, and we actually requested them to consider extending the distribution system that is right at the border in Newbury to our district, to the commercial district. And it was very polite, you'd have to provide something of great value to us for us to consider doing that. So it was a polite no. Fortunately, the Byfield Water District, when I went to speak with them, they find this mutually beneficial. They like to expand the customer base, and we're looking for water. Then I looked at the 4 wells, and it was determined one of the wells could actually be established in the future for a potential water supply. It would require treatment. So the next step was in task 3. I went through and I designed the distribution system from Byfield. And when doing this, I first looked at the water demand from the business light industrial district, okay? If this, theoretically, from what I designed, if we were to build everything, how much water would I need? And I went to them and I said, could you provide this? And as of right now, if they were to run their pumps an extra 5 hours, they could. However, the concern is for future growth in Byfields. So they asked me to reduce it to a number. However, when I went back and I started reducing it to that number, I realized that I really need to do is what I did for the Route 1 for a maximum build out, I did for actually over in Byfield for the Pearson Plaza commercial district that just was increased. I did that to come up with a maximum water demand. And then I also looked at the number of homes that currently could be tied into to public water supply, but have chosen not to be. And I added those also. And I deducted that from the potential what they could provide. I subtracted that value, and I reduced it down. Then I went over and I designed a distribution system based off of the business light industrial district maximum build out. I came up with a cost for each design, and then I came down and did an engineering economic analysis, which I wanted to find out, okay, how much money would it cost and what would be our return on our investment? When doing this, I was asked by a couple people, could I please include the new report? Even though that they've said no, could we get an idea of what the cost would be if they said yes, just to come do a comparison? So that kind of explains what I did over the past year. For the maximum build out, what I did was I looked at the business light industrial district, which you'll see in magenta. And what I looked for was areas of large clusters of upland, so buildable lands that had frontage on Route 1. And there were 4 sites. Now, from this, I applied a number of assumptions. Now, we know that the soils are bad, but we're going to assume right now that it's possible to have septic, or we're just going to put that aside, okay? And that parcels could be assembled if there was multiple parcels by different owners, that they could be assembled. And then we applied the design criteria for zoning, for Mass DEP setbacks, for water course and wetlands, and site access. And I'm going to include this because it's very interesting when you see the quantity of land out there and you see the limited development we currently have. This kind of shows you what we're working with. So right now what we have is the Bashar property. Now I didn't go out and survey this. This is just based off of what we have off of my map, the GIS, which is a number of years old, and it's not completely accurate, but you get a kind of gut feel. You get a gut feel for what we're doing right here.
Yep.
So once you put the setbacks, you reduce the site by 51%.
Wow.
So see that? 51 feet. Site 2, now this is where the storage trailers are along that when you come down Route 1. That reduces it 45%. Site 3, this is where the Drakowski's property is, down off of Sled Road. Look at that
Oh
one,
my.
75% down off of that. And Site 4, this is the Millen property, where they're doing right now, they're doing the wood cutting.
Yep.
And that gets cut down 53%. Now that's just using the setbacks and the zoning right there, and that's what our land is cut down to. Now, this is where it becomes difficult because we don't know what's going to be built there in the future. We don't have a crystal ball. The town doesn't know. I've talked to the property owners. They're not quite sure. So this is what I turned to John Weiss into his expertise. And what he said is we can make a logical assumption based off of what's been successful south of Route 1 and apply this formula to it. From that, I can calculate the area that I have to work with at the site, apply the different parking requirements, and I can come up with a water requirement. So I came up with
Kathleen, is it okay if we interrupt, or do you
Can
want?
you wait till after,
Sure,
and
okay.
then we'll go
Okay.
through and do it?
All right.
Because then we'll get through it quicker. And I'll be happy to answer questions after. So I came up with a water demand, and then the estimated annual tax revenue, that was actually given to the chair of the Board of Assessors, which is Bud Kelly, and his consultant, and they worked with the square footage. And when you're doing an assessment value, it's a complicated formula. So they did the best to work with what they had with a lot size and with the square footage of the different uses. And that was confirmed with our new chief assessor. Next, we went down to the water sources. And as I said, we went to your report. They said no. Byfield is interested, so I worked with the Byfield design. Now, the Guilford well, I know the Guilford well was in Newburyport. However, there was some questions of whether or not there were wells on our side of the property line, the town line.
Where is that
So
exactly?
the Guilford well is when you go down Parker Street towards Marches Hill. There's a
Yes.
well on the Newburyport side. There was questions of whether there were wells on our side, and what they were actually monitoring wells to the well.
Okay.
They're not big established wells like this one.
Thank you.
The elementary school well's been demoed, and the other well that's over by the train station over on the Bashar side does exist. However, when you establish a well for a public water supply, it's called a zone 1, like a 400-foot radius.
Yes.
And depending on, was not able to locate it, but I was giving someone has an idea where it was. It does not appear that it would meet these requirements because
Oh,
of Mass
good.
Electric and the train. However, the Bashar well does meet those requirements. This is a map. I'm not going to go through everything because I know that you guys don't want the hour presentation, so we're going to just skip through it. So as I said, water sources, I looked at the Byfield Water District, the Bashar well. So here is what I came up with for the line. We're actually looking at where it ends off of Orchard Street down by Maple Terrace,
Yep.
extending it down towards Route 1, and then they were going to require us to put in a storage tank. Now, I don't know if I said this, but they're not willing to pay for this, okay? So they're willing we can connect into it, and they like our customer base, but they're not going to pay for
Yep.
the construction.
I understand.
Now, because there was a reduction in my water demand for my maximum build-out, it also reduced the potential tax revenue. But it's just under $1 million if we still have that amount of water required. For the Bashar well, if you see the blue cyan circle at the top of the page, that is the 400-foot radius around the well that we'd require. It would require us to purchase that property, and then we'd have to purchase, you see the red line is actually the piping that goes through. I'm proposing, right now I just put placement, I put a water treatment facility off of Hanover Street. It would require lagoons because we'll have waste we're gonna have to treat afterwards. We don't have a wastewater treatment facility to actually direct the waste to. And then a storage tank. There's a lot of land required for this design. However, this actually has the capacity of, according to the reports from 1970s, it has a potential capacity of 1 million gallons per day, which is wonderful. The design of the distribution system from Newburyport, again, they said no, but we're just looking at it. If you see, the blue line is the existing distribution system down Hanover Street, and then the red line would be the new line connecting in, and the north, right before the property line, you can see there's a existing water line somewhere up there. For cost estimates, so what I wanted to do is, after I cost estimated out each design, I wanted to come up with a return. How long would it cost for us? How many years would it take duration for us to get our money back based off this potential if we had a maximum build-out scenario? And that was just to give you an example. 1 year, I'm working right now, this is with Byfields. It would be 1 year I estimated to put in the line. 5 years, John Weiss was saying it'd probably take 5 years to get the property built out to maximum capacity. 7 years to, if we had that return, that income coming in, it would take us 7 years to pay off the construction costs, and then 1 year to pay off the lost revenue that we weren't collecting taxes. So it gives an idea. So here are the option results, the end results that took me a year to calculate. We have one is Byfield Water District. It'd be $6.6 million when you see a return on your investment in 14 years. Option 2 would be a new public water supply, a new treatment facility based off the well. It'd be $9.1 million with 16-year return on your investment. And option 3, which right now they're saying unless we come up with a great favor, but it's basically $3.8 million plus the whatever great benefit came up. Maybe that's potential tax revenue that once this is built out, maybe they get so many years of potential tax revenue. I'm not sure. The town leaders would have to come up with something like this. The difference between the options is option 1, that would meet your requirements for the business light industrial district. You wouldn't be able to maximize out the land, but you would have a water source, and they're willing right now to, if we came up with the money, they're willing right now to extend it. I haven't gone through and proposed this, this latest revision to them. However, they're considering it. They haven't said no. Option 2 is based off the well. Now, the owner is not willing right now to sell the well. He's happy with his business right there, and he likes the way it is. However, let's say that he changed his mind. That would be $9.1 million in 16 years, and that has, so the capacity, what we're talking about in option 1 was around 80,000 gallons per day. 80,000. This option would be around 1 million gallons a day. Quite extensive, but my design of the treatment facility was only based off of the I think it was 123,000 gallons. It wasn't based on designing 1 million gallons per day. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that gives you an idea. So in summary, if we went with the option that was the less expensive at the moment, that would be the Byfield. You receive a return of investment in 14 years. You would increase your annual revenue by $924,000 a year. That would be more than what we collect right now. And we'd increase it from 3% to 13%. And now questions.
That's a lot of work, Kat.
It was.
Yeah.
As you know, having chaired the planning board, having been on the original joint Newbury Water Search Committee and so forth, I'm pretty familiar with a lot of these issues. And one of the things that I've worried about is that when we had the joint grant with Newburyport to look at redeveloping that Route 1 corridor around the train station, we had a consultant who looked into sort of the value of the land for different types of uses. And what they had done was to say, okay, for this particular type of use, let's say office space, you know, the going rate in the greater Newburyport area is so many dollars per square foot. And then they worked backwards. Okay, what would it cost to construct the building? And then obviously the developer would want a return on their investment. And the conclusion they came to was that the land had negative value. In other words, that they couldn't afford to buy the land even for $0 and still make a profit because the rents are so low because of the surplus of office space. Now again, this is a study that was done a number of years ago. So whenever I see one of these build-out analyses, that lesson kind of resonates in my head, because it's easy to say, oh, we'll take 20% of this type and 50% of that type. But is anybody really going to want to build that stuff?
Well, this was that formula, which I'll go back to. Here. Now, when John Weiss came up to this, and he's not here to rebut, but as he said, you know, what's gonna be built out there is gonna be dependent on the economy at the time, and we can't foresee that right now.
Yes.
So to answer your question, we don't know. We can only make a best judgment, and that's what this was based off of. And this is based off of maximizing the site too, not just. I mean,
Yeah.
you might not maximize the entire site.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just worried about this assumption that if we put in water, they, meaning all these commercial developers, will come. And there's also a surplus in this region of industrial and commercially zoned land, which is another thing. So we're competing with other
You are
communities.
competing, and I think that if this was ever to move forward, and Tracy's worked with me on this, I think you're going to have to line up and make sure there's people that are willing to come forward before you actually invest the money in it. And I don't think anybody's anticipating that we're going to go through and try to figure out how to fund a project with having nobody interested in the
Right,
project,
yeah.
right? But what this study was to do is first to find out, is it possible, is there land out there that could be built on? Is it significant
Right.
parcels? Is there a way for us to get water? Because I've been on the board for close to 10 years, and I've been hearing all kinds of stories. And this kind of answers the question. For one thing, I've heard that Byfield, from other people, that Byfield wouldn't be interested and they wouldn't have the capacity. Well, according to this, they do have the capacity and they are willing. And they're actually trying to get it permitted a new well in Byfield up right now. And this wasn't even including that. This was including the existing. So by no means am I telling you if you put water in that you're going to get this.
Yeah.
But what it was a study to find out, first of all, if we were to provide water, what do we have? Do we have the ability? Do we have the land out there? And this doesn't even address the septic system again. I mean, the septic would be an issue, and
Yeah.
the sewer. This is just to give you an idea of, okay, if the septic was set aside, how much water would we need to maximize the site? What's reasonable? I don't know, Tracy, if you want to add anything.
Well, the one thing that comes to mind is that you can't have a large industrial complex without water. Even if it's for the complex, you have to have firefighting capabilities there. It's got to be there, absolutely positively. So I agree with you there, the water should come first. One quick question I do have is when you were talking about bringing the Byfield water over, they already run it through their purification thing. It comes over ready to use. The well, when you were purchasing the well, in that money, did you put a little plant to?
Yes, that was
You did.
designed,
Oh,
yeah.
That was already in the 9 million?
That's
Okay.
why it's so expensive. What that
Right.
is, so that would be for the well, for a treatment facility. I actually
Green
sampled
sand or osmosis?
green sand.
Okay.
I actually got permission from the property owner to test the water.
Mhm.
So I had new water results. And then I worked with AECOM, and they kind of made sure that I was picking,
Good for
they
you.
confirmed it, what they
Nice.
would do.
Great job.
So that
right.
was actually backed by a consultant, a PE, that recommended that too. So I'm not
Wow.
far off.
So in conclusion, there is land out there that we could use.
What
If
there
we
is
can afford it.
there's land out there, but we have to get creative, try to figure out, first of all, if we can get SOAR, we need SOAR too, but, and we have to make sure that they can have septic systems, one or the other.
Right.
But from a water standpoint alone, there's ability to get water
They
there.
could get water there.
Yes.
That's good, okay?
Well, just to kind of, some of the selectmen may not know this, but when I was involved in this kind of thing, and this is a number of years ago now, for uses other than industrial, it seemed as though on-site disposal was was potentially practical on these sites. The problem with water is that, I forgot what the number is, I think it's 25, if it serves more than 25 people, it triggers essentially all the permitting for a public water supply, which can take years. And so this is one of the reasons why, even if you've got a private well that yields lots of water, because of the state regulations, you can't build anything substantial, because
Right.
if you've got a restaurant, you've got more than 25 customers. If you've even an office building, you're gonna have 25 people there. So any sort of intensive use that would essentially give the town a good return, in terms of tax dollars, starts triggering this public water supply, which is a horrendous permitting process.
It can be done now, and I did not confirm this, but I was told by someone in the water department over in Byfield that the ballistic center actually triggers that for 25, and they
Uh-huh.
actually have to do the requirement of testing their water.
Right.
I haven't confirmed that, but I did
Uh-huh.
hear that, so it is possible.
Oh, anything's possible. Just what I was told is that it's very discouraging for a developer because of the length of time it takes to get the permitting. And the problem we ran into, again, when I was on the water search committee, we were looking at a lot of these potential sources, and the potential 1 million gallons a day off of Parker Street. What we were told, and this is by Paul Colby, who works for both Byfield and Newburyport, is really to make it economical, you want to be getting on the order of 500,000 gallons a day. That if you start going much below that, the expense of the treatment plant is such that it really starts hurting the economics. And at the time, of course, we were working with Newburyport, and this was triggered by the whole Plum Island, water and sewer project. That was one of those great benefits that Newburyport was interested in, because they had actually used that well in the past, but because of the high mineral content, they didn't continue to use it. And so, but again, that was in a time when the permitting wasn't as strict. And so what we don't know is when they start doing the pump testing and that sort of thing, with these undeveloped sites, whether we'd start drawing down water in adjacent wetlands at a little river or something like that. So there's,
The pump, so I was working off of the data from the 1970s, the one that you're familiar with too.
yeah,
So they did come up with, though, even if you don't get 1 million gallons a day, it does give the impression, though, there's
Yeah,
some
I agree.
significant money, and that's probably why Newburyport has invested so much money in looking at the Guilford well across the street on their own property. As far as cost for treatment, David's right. The more water you treat, the cheaper it is. However, there are these days now, like for this was a package plant where for one of the constituents that had to be treated, they actually have components that you just drop in place. You don't have to build anything and everything. But I don't have the cost estimate, I don't think, on here for the now to go with the treatment plant. But
I'm really impressed with the amount of work that you put
Yeah.
into this. That's,
I know that I've talked more than I would hope, so I'm going to end it right
Yeah.
now. David, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to talk to you after the meeting.
okay, I just have one final general question, really, and that is that I presume when you were talking with Byfield, they were saying under their current permitting, they feel that they could supply, I forgot what the number was, 80,000 gallons a day or something like that. And as you probably know, there's a lot of, to be polite, we'll call it discussion. It's probably going to end up in lawsuits, but in terms of new proposed permitting rules. And if the new sort of draft rules were to go into place, probably Byfield would be permitted to withdraw more water than they are now. However, the environmental community all across the state is up in arms and has already lined up the lawyers for a lawsuit. So I have no idea, looking forward, what the permitting environment's going to look like. But that adds sort of another level of uncertainty. But it is good to hear that, at least with the current permitting that we have, that
No,
there-
so I didn't get into this detail about it, and I should have. So under the current permit they have, they would not be able to provide us that water.
Oh, okay.
They would have to go and request to increase their
I
permit.
see, okay.
right.
And that would have to go to public hearing, and obviously the Parker River people and everybody would be probably not happy with that. However, it was my point of bringing this up is that they do have the capacity. Whether or not they'd be allowed to pump it is another thing.
That's
Right,
correct.
okay, that's a good point. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. Thank you ever so much.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Okay, thank you, Kath. Will we have access to this, because I think this is kind of important, will the planning board have, Kathy, will the planning board have access to this for future?
I can give you a copy of the PowerPoint. I'm actually going to be doing a longer presentation for the planning board at our meeting.
All right,
Okay.
I don't think, I think we should try to utilize it for any town purposes, 'cause I think it'll be most
Right.
helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think especially the approach just makes a lot of sense. We may need to fine tune the details, but I
Right.
think the overall approach is
A lot
really
of work's
very
gone
good.
into it. I don't wanna go to waste.
Great benefit to the town.
Yeah. Okay,
Town administrative report?
I think you want me to postpone that and then do the other
We
stuff?
can do that at the end if you want to go
Okay.
Oh,
through
okay.
everyone else.
Okay, media committee
gonna be
forms,
long.
review and approval.
Okay.
I believe that's the third page. What do we have? How does everybody feel about the checklist for permit to utilize wait a minute, that's town building and field, and that's department head inquiry. No, that's not it.
No, I don't have the forms.
You
I
don't-
got the forms from the media
Oh.
committee. You guys might have.
Alright.
but-
They're on the website, actually, which, with our new iPads, we ought to be able to. Although, many of us are still trying to figure out how to use these things. And as an engineering professor, I should be especially embarrassed. But, yeah, I mean, it's been an item that's been kind of hanging out there now for
It
a
has,
number of
yeah.
meetings, and we ought to just get it resolved, because, we can, I thought maybe towards the end of the meeting, I could give you an update on sort of what the media committee's been about. These forms, which are basically, what someone has to sign off on if they would like to submit material for broadcast on our cable channel. We need to get up and running on that stuff, because have we cleared up the insurance issues now at this point, or is that still hanging out there?
I had a meeting with Richard yesterday, I believe, and we're moving forward. The insurance is still not finalized, but we should have a proposal tomorrow. We've been
Mhm.
promised, so
Okay.
we're moving forward.
Because, right, once that's in place, we're ready to accept submissions, and so we just want to make sure that the media committee and the board of selectmen are on the same page in terms of, so I'm surprised that we haven't gotten them. It's not like
Yeah.
the media committee's trying to hide them or something. As I said, they've already posted them, I think, on the website, so.
Yeah, I sent them out back in August.
Yeah, I think that's been part of the problem, is it's been so long, we've kind of.
Yeah,
You wanna table it? till
Yeah, why don't
next
we,
meeting?
but let's try to really clean it up at the next
Put it
meeting.
on the agenda for next meeting?
Yeah, because it's, as Tracy says, it's been hanging out there for quite a few weeks now.
Very good.
Kathy, I'll
comfortable with
forward
that.
it to you, and maybe we can put it in their boxes for review.
So you want this back?
Okay, we don't need to vote on that, right? Okay. The next thing is the facilities form approval, and that we have.
That we
Uh,
have.
Is everybody happy with this? Town of Newbury checklist for permit to utilize town field and buildings. There's a contact name, address, contact phone number, email address, field facility requested, dates, times requested, brief discussion of the event, description of the event. And then, there's department head inquiries, whether it be the fire department, and if they require special requirements, it's the list of police department, same thing, special requirements, board of health, building inspector, and selectman's office. What do you wish to, are you happy with this form, or what do you wanna do?
It was just to try and streamline it so everyone would get the appropriate sign-offs before they got to the board.
I only had one question, and that is, what is the scope? Is this everything the town owns? including greens and so forth, okay. So it's whether,
That was
it'd
what
be a
we-
little, that little pocket park over in
Sure.
Parker River, not on Pearson Drive rather, okay, so it, okay. No, I think this is great.
You need a vote on it?
Oh, no,
Okay, you're just showing it to us?
we
Okay.
don't?
No,
Okay.
all right,
Uh,
very good.
Okay, request for refund, we have a request for a refund of fees from Conservation, see letter. We have a letter from George Russell. On June 10th, I submitted a notice of intent for the purpose of installing a dock in front of 13 Devoli Way with town of Newbury submittal fees of $282.50. At the regular meeting of the Conservation Commission on June 18th, prior to presenting the application, it was continued to look into alternatives based on a letter from Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. After considerable effort, it was determined in everyone's best interest to withdraw the application and not pursue the project. The project was never presented by me to the Conservation Commission, therefore I am asking the Board of Selectmen to refund the submittal fee of $282.50. If there are any questions about this request, please contact me. George Russell, 13 Devoli Way, Newbury. And Doug, we have a letter from Doug Packer, dated 9/19/2013. I have read the request of George Russell, 13 Devoli Way. Mr. Russell entered into and pursued the permitting of a dock, ramp, and float at the above address. The Conservation Commission took considerable time to review the application, hold hearings, and perform a site visit with 2 other town boards. When the process received strong opposition from some interested neighborhood parties, Mr. Russell placed a request to withdraw his application without prejudice, and the request was granted. My recommendation, given these circumstances, would be to deny the request. If we refunded fees to all applicants that withdrew after using the process, it will only serve to transfer the cost of business onto others. What do you wish to do with this request?
I move that we deny the request, based on what Doug has said and also
Yeah,
conversations I've had with Joe
I'm
on
inclined to
this.
agree with Doug, because I think it says right on the application
Yeah,
that the,
right. And I don't want to start a precedent too, that's like someone sees a decision going the wrong way,
Right.
they withdraw and then want to, after all the review has been done, you know, I mean, in some cases, considerable effort goes into reviewing some of these applications, and it just doesn't
This
seem
one
fair.
here, I guess it was considerable,
Yeah.
activity with it, so.
okay, so motion to deny?
Did you second it?
Yeah,
You
I
made
will
the
second,
motion,
okay,
seconded?
thank you, yeah.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, unanimous. We did the banner. Friends of Newbury representative to present their mission.
I don't know that anybody's here from that. I
Nobody's
never
here?
heard back from them when I sent them an email. so-
Okay.
Okay, that's Eileen Walworth, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Come on.
okay. William Blackwood the fourth request use of town land under Route 1 Bridge for a bike track.
Have you all been given a copy of my written proposal?
I believe so.
Great. I'm here to field questions.
I'm puzzled by who owns the property.
The property is owned by Mass DOT, and I've already been in contact with them. What they need in order for me to start any sort of park on that land is for the town to essentially assume liability as it would a park, for me to even break ground under a highway.
So I'm puzzled, why should we as a town assume liability for what happens on private property?
Well, what they've told me is they will not issue me a permit to build a bicycle park under their bridge, but if the town would like to have a park within its borders, then I'd need to go to the town to get approval for such an idea.
It's very convoluted. You're accepting liability for land we don't even own or can't even send a police on because it's state land? I have a problem with this.
I do too.
Yeah. I was thinking, gee, if I could get all the liability stuff taken off my homeowner's insurance, I'd probably really get a big reduction in premiums.
Yeah, right off this is just I can't speak for the other side, I can only speak for me. Right off the bat, I do not see us going there. I really don't, not with the liability. As I say, if it was our own land, I might be willing to look into it. Where we don't even own the land, no, I myself am not gonna go down that path. So, as I say, I can't speak for the other selectmen, but that's just my opinion on that.
I'll speak for myself, I tend to agree with,
Alright.
I don't see how we can do that.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna put the town in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great idea, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I'm all for, kids doing stuff and, but, no, I'd be derelict of my duties here to put the town into that position, so.
What if it were limited in scope? What if we could get some sort of, in regard, like, obviously if the bridge topples onto people, that wouldn't be, it shouldn't fall on the town. If that were the case, maybe like a limited scope in regard to,
Where you're gonna be putting yourself in danger anyway because of the bikes, because of the jumps and all of this. I don't see that happening. I really don't.
Since we've been talking about the bike trail, I believe this board has been totally against taking any liability for the trail. I'm getting involved with any type of,
Well, you're thinking the Border to Boston Trail, or,
Right, yeah.
right, as opposed to this
Yeah.
new proposal, which is something very different.
right,
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm coming from the same place, that the concept is great, but from a town perspective, picking up the liability for some other property owner, especially the state, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And again,
Afraid
you
you
can
can
imagine,
sell
they'll
more,
ask for the world, right? But
thank you for,
Question on this topic?
yeah.
Am I allowed to make questions? So, my name's Jim Bose, I'm a resident in New Green Neck. I've been involved with many towns building skate parks for bicycles, skateboards, whatnot. I was Marblehead, Beverly when I was younger, then Newburyport, I helped build that park years ago. And my question, I guess, we haven't met, I just got wind of this discussion, and I've been involved with some of these cycling sports for many years now. My son's 12, he's getting into it. So I have a couple questions. Is there another piece of land in town, an existing park, underutilized corner that could be turned into this? The benefit of having under a bridge is that it's somewhat protected and shaded. But the majority of the parks I've seen like this built are usually in the back corner of some, behind the football field, behind the soccer field where no one wants to go. And in general, the liability for the town is no greater than the park that's already there. That's how these towns build skate parks. And if you have a park and you have a playground, your insurance company will look at it, not so much differently than a jungle gym or a track around a high school football field. So what's sticky about this
I may
one?
interrupt. The key to that statement is they own the land.
Correct. So
Here, we don't.
So this is
That is my
This is
general
very
opposite.
complicated because of the ownership.
Right.
So my question really is, or something for you to investigate, is there another corner, is there a piece of land within the town that could serve a similar purpose that's already sort of part of a park, that might not have the benefit of the shade, but might serve the rest of it? And the second question is, other towns have done this. Other towns have built parks under bridges, and I'm assuming they probably own the bridge.
Yeah, all right, I'll make a suggestion. There's a lot of state land in Newbury. Maybe the state should assume the liability and let you build it in their state property. Like the, what am I thinking of? Martin Burns or up on Forest Street. There's a lot of, and there's some off on Scotland Road. There's, where Adventureland used to be, there's original Fish and Game, they own that.
Fish and game.
But it's not beyond, I know at Bradley Palmer State Park in Topsfield, they have something like that, they do things like that, so it's not beyond reach, but I think, if, maybe the state should take on this liability.
Bradley
Or do
Palmer
something
has
like-
one?
Huh?
Bradley Palmer
Yeah.
has one?
Well, I'm not sure if they have that, they have the swimming thing,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Newburyport's trying to build something similar, on the backside of Marsh's Hill, so.
Yeah.
There's some others around the area that are, towns are figuring out how to do this.
Mhm.
So that was my question, is there another spot that might work? for this one?
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your input. All right. Thank you.
Arthur, you got anything you want to add to this?
Minutes of September 10th.
Okay, minutes of September 10th. I wasn't here, so I can't.
David wasn't, so we'll have to
Yeah.
table them for the next meeting.
So I guess we gotta put that off for a week, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You're right.
Sheila Basone doing business as in the barn, 26 High Road, new business license.
She won't be here. She's coming for
Okay.
October 8th. She had a medical emergency.
Okay. One day
Oh.
liquor license for Jules Catering for a function at Spencer Little Farm, October 12th from 4 to 9. I guess we have it in our packet. What do you wanna do with that?
It's a wedding,
Motion to
apparently.
approve.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is a
Yeah.
wedding.
Yeah, I second.
One-day liquor license, right?
Okay. You making a motion?
I thought Chuck made the motion.
Yeah, I made the
Okay.
motion to
I was
approve.
seconding Chuck's
Second.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Everything's all set with it, Kath, right? They've done this before? Yeah.
We have another one-day liquor license from Andrew Ketchum for a wedding at Spencer Little Farm on October 4th. From
4 to, I think it's 11. Yeah,
11 to 4?
4 to 11.
4 to 11, okay.
It's in your packet.
What do you wish to do with that one?
Motion to approve.
So is this another wedding, or?
Yes.
Okay. I'm all for weddings, so I second.
Okay, motion made and seconded, we approve the license, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I got one more. One-day liquor license for the National Farmers Market Association for a function at Spencer Pierce Little Farm, October 5th, from 12 noon to 3 p.m.
Once again, motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. David, you wanna do your Comcast letter? There's a Comcast letter on file. Do I have to read it? Dear Chairman and members of the board, Comcast is pleased to announce that it will continue to provide high-speed internet service to Newbury schools and your local library free of charge again this year, continuing the company's tradition of putting its advanced fiber technology to work for the communities we serve. Comcast has offered free high-speed internet service to schools, libraries, Boys and Girl Scout clubs across the region since our arrival in 2003. Comcast also urges an advanced fiber-rich network to deliver free cable television service to schools and other public buildings in Newbury. The company's broadband contribution in Newbury alone has an annual value of more than $2,277.
Yeah, what does that number mean?
I know.
Seems like something went wrong there.
Something's missing.
Additionally, Comcast recently launched Internet Essentials, a program which provides families with children who are eligible to receive free lunches under the National School Lunch Program with low-cost internet service, affordable computers, and digital literacy training. The goal of Internet Essentials is to help close the digital divide and ensure more Americans benefit from all the internet has to offer. The national program addresses that research has identified as the three primary barriers to to broadband adoption. One, a lack of understanding of how the internet is relevant and useful. 2, the cost of home computer, and 3, the cost of internet service. The launch of this program has been a collaborative effort with schools, community leadership, and community-based organizations throughout the country. To learn more, please visit www.internetessentials.com. Comcast is focused on delivering the best in innovation, information, and entertainment to our customers in Newbury and across the region. We are committed to using our resources to make meaningful investments in communities where our customers and employees live and work. Comcast is pleased to help make a difference in schools and libraries by providing fast and reliable video and high-speed internet connections. As always, it has been a pleasure working with your community, and we look forward to continuing to support Newbury for years to come. Sincerely, Jane Lyman, Senior Manager, Government and Regulatory Affairs, Comcast, Greater Boston Region. Okay, I don't think we have to do anything with that. We've got a notice of the Mass Municipal Association for the Fall Conference for Selectmen. I think you won't get them in your packets. We got to sign warrants, we'll do that later.
Town Administrator's Report.
Yeah, Town Administrator's Report.
Okay, first I wanted to announce that we will be issuing our second quarter real estate and personal property tax bills on October 1st, payment being due November 1st. The bills are gonna have a slightly different format and a different look compared to what you might be used to in the past. We have chosen a new outside vendor, Kelly and Ryan, to do the bill printing for us. In addition to moving to Kelly and Ryan, we've also selected a new vendor to facilitate our online payments. So we are partnering with City Hall Systems for those taxpayers who wish to receive their bills or make payments electronically. We expect the new system will be easier and more efficient, allowing the town of Newbury to continue to improve the delivery of services to its residents. If you have already registered in the past, you're going to need to go on and re-register because now we're using a new vendor. Any problems that you experience, there's going to be a phone number to contact at City Hall Systems. I'll provide the information to Jen Solis, and we'll also get it up on our website, so there'll be a location for you to go to sign up. Okay. Also wanted to report to you that Diane Doyle, our treasurer collector, has just successfully passed the examination and met all the other educational criteria to become a certified Massachusetts municipal collector. So we've had our town accountant, our collector, and our assessor all certified this year. And then I wanted to ask you to declare, we have a 2010 Crown Victoria, to declare that surplus. It's got 92,260 miles. It's been replaced in our asset replacement program, our cruiser replacement program, so I can go out and put that out to bid for a competitive bid to get rid of it. Yeah, I did find in some of the old records that Chuck had left me, at one point in time, I don't know if the board had ever voted to allow the town administrator to make the surplus declaration in the event that the asset was less than $5,000. I wasn't able to locate anywhere where the board voted that. I don't know if you wanted to consider that in the future, or if that is indeed a valid policy of the town that stands. I don't know, Kathy, do you have any memory of that?
I thought we did vote it when Chuck was here, but
Right.
I'll go back and look and see if I can find it in the records.
These the cruises at this point in time do have a value of under $5,000, but
Really? I would've thought that'd have been a little over. All right.
not with the mileage they have on them.
Or the gas mileage, you know.
Oh, yeah, right. But in the,
Yeah.
you can certainly take a vote to declare it
I mean,
surplus
I
tonight,
think
and we
having
can
some
move
kind of
forward.
threshold makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
because, it's.
Motion to declare that cruiser surplus.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's a vote.
I think going forward, we should try to finalize some kind of policy, whether the threshold be 5,000 or some other number, but it just seems like there's gonna be a lot of little stuff like that, you know, compared to the size of our budget, it's almost in the noise, you know, and, so I don't know, I mean, so Chuck, rumor has it that Chuck had recommended a $5,000 limit?
I found a policy document, but I haven't found the actual vote, but we haven't looked for it. I mean, we can go back
We
and
could
look for
just-
it, we could
We
reaffirm
we
it.
could reaffirm, yeah, we could, maybe at the next,
Might be easier.
next meeting, bring in,
Bring it forward.
forward, and then we can discuss it.
Okay. Okay, and then, if we could take a little time to go through, we have the first draft of the special town meeting warrant. I did provide a hard copy of this because there were some changes.
You thinking?
This one, if you could pass down to Kathy. The Finance Committee did take this up last Tuesday evening, and they did take some votes on a number of the articles, but there were some that they were waiting for further information, so I'll just go through them and note anywhere that the committee did already take a vote. The first article that's gonna be presented with the approval and acceptance of the Board of Selectmen would be allowing us or authorizing us to pay some bills of the prior fiscal year. They did not make it before the July 15th deadline for processing. There are two. There was one from the DPW, a Verizon bill for $113.11. And the tree warden presented $4,875 worth of bills from Steve's Tree Service. We did verify that all these are legitimate bills that need to be paid. The vendors are due this money. We're just prohibited from doing it because they didn't meet the deadline, so we need town meeting approval, and that requires a 9/10 vote. The Finance Committee did recommend approval of that article. The second article,
So Tracy, just procedurally, are we supposed to take a vote then to either recommend or not recommend that this go forward? or-
we have, in the last two town meetings, the board has taken a vote, and we've documented it in the booklet. I don't know how you feel about doing that without your full board. Unfortunately, the timing is such that we're gonna have to have the warrant signed by the 7th, no later than the 7th. But the booklet itself doesn't have to be, you know, copied. You could take a vote on the 8th. The warrant has to be approved, so you have to approve the article
I see.
to move forward, but if you wanted to take an affirming vote later, you could.
I mean, it used to be, as I recall, with the, what was handed out at town meeting, usually it was just the Finance Committee. We didn't even have selectmen's votes on the financial type stuff like this, so,
It's up to you, you know, whatever,
Yeah, haven't
whatever
before, but I
presentation
don't
you'd
see
like
why
to.
we can't. It's
It would
just
be
a-
nice to have the selectmen borrow against it.
yeah, I think so.
I think so.
I mean, everybody worries about money these days, so.
I mean,
But we could delay it to our next meeting, so we'd have a,
do we have enough time to delay it to our next?
You'd have to approve the warrant prior to that meeting, so we'd have to call a separate meeting instead of meeting on the 8th. I think it's scheduled for, you'd have to meet Monday on the 7th,
right.
because we'd have to get it posted.
So if we don't hold a special meeting, then
Then you'd need
this
to vote
evening, we've got
tonight.
to approve the warrant, okay.
Right.
But we don't know, okay.
You wanna do it? I don't.
Well,
have-
again,
Yeah,
do we want to do it, we can approve the warrant as a whole, or we could go article by
Right.
article?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I can remove anything that
Yeah.
you don't want to see
Yeah,
on
so what's your
there.
pleasure?
If you see something you don't like, just yell hold.
Okay,
Go ahead.
all right, why don't we do that? Yeah,
Okay.
All right.
that works.
Okay, Article 1, to see if the town will vote to authorize the payment of the following fiscal year 2013 bills and send sums to be taken from the respective departments' expenses. Department of Public Works, Verizon, $113.11. Tree Warden's account, Steve's Tree Service, $4,875, or act in relation thereto. Selectmen recommendations Do we approve it or deny it? Oh,
I'm
that's-
all
I
for
thought
it.
Chuck's,
Yeah, I'll approve
hi-
it.
I thought his proposal was we go through all the articles and just
Yeah.
come back to any that we think need further discussion, but I could
Okay,
go
you
either
wa-
way.
You wanna do it that way?
I don't,
I mean,
It's-
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think most of these look
We
pretty
do this, we're
routine.
gonna be
There'll be a
here
couple
all
of
night.
cases where we have some,
All right, so
and
what's,
it's just as fast, probably just say, do we approve the article? I mean, it's only three of us, so how
Okay.
about, I'll move that we approve the article.
okay. You second it?
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
motion made, seconded, we approve Article 1. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Me too. Okay, Article 2, to see if the town will vote to adjust certain amounts voted under Article 3, the general budget of the May 21st annual town meeting, so that the following accounts are now budgeted for fiscal year 214 as follows. Town administrator salary, I'm just gonna read the change. It's an increase of $5,000. IT services, an increase of $9,000. Professional and technical services, an increase of $30,000. Finance department, salary and wages, $1,500. Greenhead control, $5,000. Public buildings, utilities, $12,000. Hope I'm on the right line. Public buildings, property-related services, $9,400. Police department, salary and wages,
Zero at this point.
0 at this point. Street lighting, $4,000. Add to raise and appropriate the sum of $75,900 to fund such adjustments or act in relation thereto.
So Tracy, I mean, some of these numbers are rather sizable increases, and so I'm wondering if you could just, with the big ones, sort of
Sure.
help us figure out what's going on.
The 30,000 for professional and technical services is primarily going to be utilized for the site that we're considering for the public safety complex, which is the 3 parcels out back here. There's a significant amount of testing that has to be done. We have already done some surveying, and we are moving into wetlands delineation, but we also need to do 21E testing, soils, soil borings to make sure, you know, what we're dealing
All the
with.
standard due diligence stuff.
Pretty much, and it adds up. So we hadn't budgeted, although we have a line item for professional and technical services, this is kind of outside of the scope of what we would budget for on an annual basis. So that's what you see there. The others are based on the public buildings, property-related service, utilities, and street lighting are based on actual amounts that were expended. The last 2 years are the first years that we've had history in those accounts. Everything was lumped into one account before, so we've kind of separated it out and tried to get a more accurate accounting of what we're spending. So these are based on actuals. And,
I think we're all familiar with the greenhead control issue.
yeah, you know where that's coming from. So.
All right, you wanna vote on that one?
Yeah.
One quick question, the police department salary and wages, you have the constable in there?
I had a question mark there because there was some discussion at a previous selectmen's meeting about whether or not you were going to consider adding additional hours. My sense was we were going to do some more study and analysis, and I am engaged in getting information from surrounding communities. I thought that we would address it at the annual town meeting unless anyone on the board wanted to move forward with
Okay.
it.
I understand
now.
now, thank you.
All right,
Yeah, I move that we approve Article 2.
Yep, second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $57,200 or any other sum from the sale of land account to make various repairs to the Byfield Town Hall, that's the Grange building, or act in relation thereto.
Motion to approve.
Bless you.
Second there?
Yeah, I'll second
Okay,
that.
motion made and seconded, we approve it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $77,800 or any other sum for the sale of land, from the sale of land fund to purchase a new alarm receiving system at both Newbury and Byfield dispatch centers or act in relation thereto.
Motion to approve.
Okay, just a little clarification, rationales, the old system's outdated. I'm just curious how old the old system is and how long we expect a new system to serve our needs.
The old system is, how long have we been in,
I can't remember when it wasn't there.
yeah,
I've been in
'Cause we moved
36 years now, so.
yeah, we moved it from one station to the other in Byfield over
Right,
here.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's about the
it is
same
in
time.
serious need, and it would cost more to repair the old system than
Right.
what this is
But
here,
you're
so.
doing it, and all your,
So you'll sell the old system on eBay as an antique.
yeah, all your fireboxes came into that.
Yeah, right.
The only thing that did come up at the capital planning committee, I understand, is that as we move forward with the evaluation of the new system, that we make sure that it would tie into any new facility that is built in it.
Oh, yeah. Right,
That
right.
could be built into
Yep.
it.
Yeah, the only reason I raise these questions is just whenever I see something coming out of the land sale fund, we know that's a one-time deal. And,
Right.
you know, we're hoping to upgrade our public safety facilities and that sort of stuff. So it's like, I'm always worried that we'll deplete that account before we ever get a chance to.
This would go into that, this would move into it. In other words, whatever new facility you build,
That would.
that would, you're not gonna throw it away. It would.
Okay.
it would go into
Mhm.
it. Okay, is there a motion and a second?
I think Chuck had a motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $50,000 or any other sum from the sale of land account to replace a non-compliant septic system at Manta Fields or act in relation thereto.
Motion to approve.
My only question's the price. Sounds like a gold-plated septic system for one bathroom, or two bathrooms.
I think that is a not to exceed amount. They have not gone out and gotten the quotes yet.
Okay.
So that, and it would require a competitive bid process. Yep.
I second.
That's their money, right?
No, this would come from the sale of land
Okay.
fund.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $7,950 or any other sum from receipts reserved fire alarm to repair the fire alarm system or act in relation thereto.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. This comes from the user's fee that they assess the people that have fire alarm boxes in their buildings, in commercial buildings. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $27,000 or any other sum from free cash to purchase a document management system or act in relation thereto. Tracy?
Currently, our town documents are stored in unair-conditioned storage facilities, trailers right now. They're deteriorating and they're quite difficult to access currently. You know, we don't have a lot of extra personnel to do filing, so they're in quite a bit of disarray as well. We have made great strides in cataloging what we do have and getting them into the hard plastic storage bins you see behind you to try and at least protect them from water damage. But we really need to upgrade our system. What we'd like to do is get this program in place so we can start here moving forward and then engage maybe participants in the senior rebate program to start going backwards with trying
So, I
to.
mean, is this scanning, I mean, I don't understand what a document management system of this sort means.
Well, we'd have to get someone to physically start scanning.
But the idea is to go electronic.
The idea is to go electronic so you can search it, you can
Yeah, right,
find it,
okay.
you can save it, you can store it, because
Uh-huh.
we don't have storage facilities. We
Right.
don't have the
Well, we knew when
capability.
we moved all the records out of the Woodbridge School, that this day was gonna be coming, now it's here.
So under the state law or regulations, whatever, we can go electronic or,
I haven't found anything to prohibit us from going electronic. What would,
I mean, do we have to still preserve the paper records? Or
there's some paper records that we do have to preserve in perpetuity, that we have to maintain. The most valuable ones will be maintained in the,
Right,
in
and
the
they could be
town.
stored off-site or someplace. where-
Right. In the town clerk's safe, a lot of them are. But those other records that are more beneficial to, us planning, building inspectional
Right.
services, that's
Well, I was
what we're
thinking,
gearing it
once
towards.
upon a time, we had an item in the budget for the historical commission to sort of digitize the old records, but they actually not digitized, but there was microfilm, I think, or microfiche.
Probably microfiche at that time.
And that technology is totally obsolete today. And,
Yep.
but I do believe the technology is available to take those old microfiche and digitize them as
Digitize
well.
it.
So I'm thinking going forward, we may want to try to
Sure,
sort of resurrect that program.
okay.
So, the,
What was that, a line item in the operating budget?
it was a line item, yeah, and so I think, as I remember, they would have their records like professionally conserved, but also at the same time, they put everything on microfiche as they worked their way through, and then the library had the materials so that in the local history room or whatever we
You
could
could
call
go
it,
and
you
see
could go in and look at the early records, because, and I was motivated, as I recall, by the fact that apparently we have one of the most complete set of town records in the entire Commonwealth, if not most of New England. That, our records survived the Revolution, where,
It's impressive.
in many cases, those colonial records during the Revolution were either destroyed or tossed out the window, and anyone who's researched old deeds down in Salem, it's a mess once you get
Get
back,
to a block,
because of the disruption of the Revolution. So anyway, just something to think about.
I forget if I made a motion on this or not.
Did you second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $8,000 or any other sum from free cash to purchase a commercial plotter, or act in relation thereto. Tracy.
Again, another opportunity to reduce in-office paper storage and allow for the digitization and reproduction of plans, which would, in some respect, become a source of revenue for the town if we needed to reproduce them. I don't know, the idea is it would benefit planning, inspectional services.
But this is only
assessors.
the printing side, not
That's
the,
correct.
not the scanning side.
That's correct.
And
How large is this thing?
Sam assures me that they can fit it into their office, so I guess it's not as
That
big
was-
as I thought it was. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, 8,000 actually sounds kind of high.
sounds high. Well, again, this will have to go
Yeah.
out, we'll go
I-
get 3 competitive
I mean,
quotes.
All right.
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
I guess I need a second first. All in favor? Yes, I'm in favor.
Okay, of the 8,000, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Unanimous. All right, this is a hard one. To see if the town will vote to amend the town new rezoning bylaw Article 10, general regulations, by adding a new section 97-10H, temporary moratorium on medical marijuana treatment centers, registered marijuana dispensaries as follows, and further to amend Article 10 in the table of contents to add Chapter 97-10H, temporary moratorium on medical marijuana treatment centers, registered marijuana dispensaries. Kathleen? Martha? What?
As, when we presented this before, basically it's amended language with the same intent, to allow the town time to establish a bylaw to go before the town on registered marijuana dispensaries. The town's not allowed to ban them, or prohibit them, but we can regulate them, so this would allow us time to put a bylaw together that would do that. So this would, the moratorium would be through June 30th of 2014, and so the goal would be to have a bylaw ready for town meeting in the spring.
Okay.
And Martha, that bylaw basically would just, it'd be a typical zoning type, it would be allowed use in certain locations, would that be the main thing?
Different models, some have created overlay districts. Georgetown just had a public hearing last week. I don't know how it went. They're creating overlay district, or it could be an allowed use in certain districts with adding the definitions for the medical marijuana
Mhm.
use. So that's the next step to actually
Okay.
figure out what.
All right. Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second,
Okay, all in favor? Article 9?
aye.
Aye. Okay. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Newbury zoning bylaw, Article 5, special permits, 97-5F. Ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installations to correct Scribner's errors by changing the words Board of Selectmen to the words Planning Board in Chapter 97, Section 5F, 5A, 5C, D, and E, and to delete the letter S at the end of the word bylaws in Chapter 97, 5F, 5E, 01, and 02 as follows, with deleted words and letters indicated by striking through and added words indicated by underlined italics. Martha?
I should have done this on the last one. Again, this was when there were some changes made right before the article went to print for the warrant last year, changing the Board of Selectmen to be the special permit granting authority, but it carried over into the site plan review, which was actually not correct. So the bylaw as it stands right now actually refers to both the planning board and the selectmen as being the site plan review granting or approving authority. So it's just to clarify that. So planning board will do the site plan review, and the selectmen stay as a special permit granting authority for the larger installations, 2 acres and
Right,
more.
so this is just for the small ones.
Right, right. 1/4 acre to 2 acres. And that also makes it consistent with our site plan review bylaw, where the planning board is the responsible party.
This is what we agreed on last year.
Right, right. It just,
This is the changes
not-
we already talked about last year, but they didn't get incorporated into the final document.
Okay, thank you. Motion to approve.
Second,
Okay, all in favor?
aye.
Aye. Article 10 is approved. To see if the town will vote to amend Chapter 460 of the Acts of 2008, an act establishing a selectman administrative form of government for the town of Newbury, being enacted by the House. Okay.
This was on the recommendation of town council.
All right. To see if the town will vote to amend Chapter 460 of the Acts of 2008, an act establishing a selectman administrative form of government for the town of Newbury. And then there are different sections, it's long.
That again, okay, Tracy, help us understand.
Yeah, this was on the recommendation of town council. What she did was she took the act, and those areas that were vague, she actually redistributed it. Most of the content is exactly the same. The only thing that is gonna be asked to change is making the town clerk elected versus appointed. We had tried to do that, we had presented it once before. Tony Penske had, I guess at the annual town meeting, I think it was 2012,
Right.
made a recommendation, but he, instead of just the town clerk, it was the town clerk, fish commissioners, and I believe the tree warden.
Yes.
And there was some opposition from the fish commissioners, I believe, a representative from their board spoke against it. This proposal is only the town clerk. We do need to discuss fish commissioners again, however, in light of the information that was brought forward at their last meeting, and I think they're going to be coming to the next selectmen's meeting. We've come across a little bit of a problem. They've been in contact with the Ethics Commission to understand their role and the limitations due to the fact that they're all involved in commercial clamming and have a financial interest in the rules and regulations that they're going to be recommending to the Board of Selectmen. So we're still working with ethics to understand what they can and cannot do. And I think that was probably, I was just coming on board, so I didn't really have a full understanding, but I think that's why Tony Penske had made that recommendation to you, that you appoint them. If they're appointed, they can file their disclosures and still serve as fish commissioners. As it stands now, the Ethics Commission is telling them they can't even make recommendations to the board because they're engaged in commercial, and all three of them are. So it's not even something where you can invoke the rule of necessity. All three of them are commercial clammers. So we're still kind of
Right.
understanding
To
this.
be sorted out.
To be sorted out, so that may or may not be
I-
an issue.
Can I throw out a suggestion?
Sure?
This is complex,
Yes,
and I think the whole board should sit down and have a work session on this,
sure.
and not even put it on this town meeting, the special town meeting. We should actually have a work session on it, make whatever changes we're gonna make, and then go with it. But I think there's a few other things in there too, we may wanna fine tune. This is something we probably should review every so many years. Say like every 5 or 10 years, is my opinion. But,
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, because we had
Also,
hoped to be further
This has to go
along.
by 9/10, because it's a bylaw change, right? 'Cause it's a
That's
town
special
meeting.
legislation.
It's gotta go back to the state
It's
legislature.
gonna go back to the state legislature.
right,
So that's kind of a, you know,
If it's a bylaw change in the towns, the special town meeting is 9/10. It's gonna be hard to pass that. You're better off at an annual town meeting.
Oh, yeah, but yeah, I don't know.
no, I agree with Mike that, because, you know, over the last few years, we've had some discussions as to,
Changing.
you know, who should do what between, say,
It's a
selectmen and
lot.
town.
There's many pages here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was very hard for me to figure out, okay, because you say it's been kind of rearranged and so forth, so it started to figure out what's really different as opposed to just,
Yep.
so,
Yeah, it'd probably be best to hold it till annual.
yeah.
So motion to table?
Why don't we remove it?
Just let's motion and remove.
Well, motion to remove then,
Yep.
excuse me.
I'll second.
Sorry, Cap.
okay. Motion made and seconded to remove Article 11 from the warrant. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Opposed?
that is huge.
Uh,
Okay with it?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
I lost.
Well, did you find it?
I'll get it in a second.
Okay.
Boy, that's a long one. That's
It
a long one.
is.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the end of it.
Second to last page.
All right, Article 12. See if the town will vote to
Do what?
Language
Language to be provided.
22 Indians Way
I-
around.
My understanding of this, and it's not really clear, that's why Ginny's drafting the article herself, is there's a property, I don't even know if you're familiar with it, Martha, it's 22 Independence Way, and there was some type of action that was taken by the town on this property years and years ago, but the release was never made. So it's going to require some town meeting action because it's an interest in real estate. Ginny's comfortable with moving forward with it. Again, this is something that can be held off as well if we need to, but I don't have the language and she didn't provide it to me
Okay,
before the close.
Hard to vote on a non-existent article.
I understand. We can, if she does provide it, if it's something you want to take action on, again, we can hold that meeting a day sooner, if that works with everyone's schedule.
Is there any reason that would be time pressure on these articles, or?
Not that I'm aware of on that one.
the same is true for Article 13 too, right? See if the town will vote to provide language
Well,
for
that's something I didn't know whether or not you.
firefighters over 65.
Again, at the last meeting, we had come to the conclusion where we had two paths we could take. We could either move forward with special legislation to allow firefighters to work as firefighters beyond the age of 65, or we could go the other path and create this new job description that made them these special firefighters. And I think you wanted to go that way, but I wanted
Yeah,
to confirm that
Yeah,
with you.
they did. I was at the Board of Fire Engineers meeting, and that's what they represented to me, that that's the way they wanted to go.
Okay.
To change their,
The job description.
and handle it rather than go, because it's only for 2 people.
That's fine, I think
And,
that's better.
You know, the town would benefit from it, and,
We're getting ahead of
Then you
ourselves
won't even
here.
need
so
Article
you,
13.
I would just omit those 2 articles.
Okay.
So you need a motion to remove Article 12 and 13.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded, we removed Article 12 and 13. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Wow.
Tracy, what's next?
That's it.
We're still on town administrator's report.
No, we're done.
The warrants?
What about warrants?
Warrants.
I'd just like to kind of update everybody on sort of where the media committee is at these days. As you realize, the media committee was sort of taken by surprise with the iPad thing, because as I'd mentioned at a couple of selectmen's meetings, you know, we were looking into this, and I think, I mean, again, I'm only speaking for myself right now, you know, having just learned today what Susan had done and so forth. As an interim solution, you know, this is okay, but we were looking at much more sophisticated solutions that would involve actually working with an external vendor, and it would be all web-based, so you could access it from anywhere that you had access to a computer. Everybody would have a password-protected account and so forth. And we had identified at least 2 companies to look into, both of which, it was kind of interesting, seemed to be outgrowths of projects that were instituted by school committees, you know, in large cities that had the resources. And but the companies that took these on and turned them into commercial products sort of generalized it to, you know, any generic board or committee. And a lot of it, what they provide not only is sort of the easy access, but you can set this up for the whole town, and then you have different sections that correspond to different boards, so that you could have the planning board have their part of sort of the system, you know, with their own documents. The selectmen could have theirs, and so on. And it supports, you know, being web-based. Practically any device could access these things. And the whole idea is to sort of both get control over access and also make it easier for staff to upload documents, because, you know, right now we only have, with the Dropbox system, and we only have one folder and everything's going in that one folder. Well, that was fine for our first meeting tonight, but pretty soon we're going to have to start keeping separate folders for each meeting. There'll probably be documents of sort of more generic types, you know, so that's the kind of service that we were looking into. And it also allows for the possibility that not everybody has to have an iPad. You could keep them in town hall if you wanted, or at least some of them, and then just distribute them at meetings instead of distributing packets, so long as board or committee members would have access by other means through home computers or things like that. So that was kind of the solution we were looking into. So I think, you know, this all, it's not like this totally sends us off in the wrong direction or something, but it just kind of caught us by surprise. I think the other thing is that we're still looking at some major equipment purchases. You know, we know there's a lot of money in the Comcast account, and we're certainly not going to be depleting it, but
No.
one of the things that's kind of high on our priority list is somehow getting Triton connected. Okay, because they've got a tremendous facility over there, but they're missing key pieces in order to get them onto essentially our educational channel for Newbury. And so we've been looking into a couple of options, and, you know, originally we thought, well, maybe we'd go in with the other towns, but we're not getting the level of cooperation that we would have liked. And, you know, I think we're starting to zero on a solution that will basically, with a few extra bits of equipment and so forth, that Triton will be able to kind of use some of the equipment that we've already purchased that's, you know, here in Town Hall. And plus there's some additional stuff that, as we move forward, you know, we're still in the early stages of bringing up the cable channel. There'll be some other probably pieces of equipment to increase the functionality. So what we'd like to do is get to the point where, you know, you could access stuff over your normal cable system if you have cable, or you could access that same material via the web, you know, via streaming video or something. So that's where, you know, so we're still working out the details, but I think we've got a game plan that makes a lot of sense. And eventually we want to get to the point where if there's something happening like annual town meeting over in the elementary school, that we could run that live on our cable channel. And again, we kind of know what we need to do. It's just that we've got to buy some other bits and so forth so that we can take advantage of the sort of the internet. They have a high-speed internet connection. We have a high-speed internet connection, and there are ways of streaming that video live, you know, via the internet from one site to another with some specialized hardware. So
Perfect.
that's what I would hope is by annual town meeting that we would be able to broadcast live, and hopefully that won't discourage people from coming and voting, but we shall see.
I don't know, that was something that, in my past experience, that we never wanted to broadcast live
Yeah.
for fear that people would choose to watch it from
Yeah, well,
home
we
instead
shall
of
see.
coming.
You know, it's
so-
like, you know, whenever you've got new technology, everybody has their hopes and fears.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out where reality lies.
Right,
And
right.
we can always choose to turn it off.
Delay.
Right.
You know, or delay it or something if we find that,
Jeez.
that it's certainly been a lot of fun for me to see what's possible today, because, you know, we turn on our TVs and we have no idea what's happening, you know, behind that magic curtain, and that's kind of where the committee's at right now.
All right. That's a lot. We at the end?
I think we're at the end.
Uh,
Any citizens' concerns? There were no public hearings. And were there any, did any of the members, board members attend any meetings they want to report?
I have not.
I attended the Board of Finance meeting before I went on vacation, and that's what I reported on. That's what, it was on that, what we just discussed on Article 13. That's about it.
All right. Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, motion made, seconded to adjourn, all in favor?
All right.
Opposed?
All right. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.